I treasure that time, and I'm very proud of the way the film turned out. Yeah, thanks.
And the question was, would I care to explain? I didn't fully catch the question. I'm sorry.
What did you like to see it?
What was the process like of taking it from the...
Oh, the process of adaptation from novel to screen. It was very exciting for me. I wrote the book. I knew nothing about cinema other than my personal private obsession with cinema since I was a child. I got suddenly there was interest in film rights. I never thought about this as a film as I wrote it. And then when the situation with Margaret and Neil arose, I knew this was the perfect situation. So I had the fantastic experience of developing this professional relationship and a friendship with Neil over 4 or 5 years of working on the various drafts of the screenplay, feeling very looked after by a guy who I admire very much. It was basically a really exciting experience because I never imagined in the beginning that it would happen, and once it started happening, I never at that point realized that it's very, very difficult to get films made. So from the beginning, I thought, okay, this is good, we'll make a film. I have emails to friends from 1999 saying, apparently we're going to be shooting next year. It's been a lovely experience.
Next question on the right, please.
Good evening to everybody. Mr. Heath, in a couple of weeks will be the ceremony of the Oscars, of the Academy Awards. Your movie, Brokeback Mountain, has 8 nominations, so what are your expectations about it? And my second question is, there are a huge difference doing lovey scenes with a girl and doing lovey scenes with a boy.
What do you think? Okay, first question. What was it again? Oh, expectations. I have none, and the movie's already exceeded any expectations I had. I think pleasing Annie Proulx, the writer, and getting her kind of nod of approval was the biggest kind of success for me and for us. And so, I don't know, the awards, it's certainly an honor to be a part of a film that's getting received that way, but no matter what, for me, it's still, it's like just a false sense of success and failure at the same time. So it's just very confusing. But it's great, and you know, it's an honor. And I'm very proud of Michelle. She's also kind of been nominated through all of this, and so in a way, any kind of pressure has been taken off me, or any anxiety, because I could just focus on her and be proud of her. So yeah, and is there any difference? Yeah, a little bit. I mean, in the end, though, there is really no way to prepare for a love scene, whether it's a guy or a girl. And also, in the end, you're still kissing a human being. So the difference is like the stubble. The difference is the nappy rash, you know. But no, it's the same thing, and it's the same level of kind of awkwardness, and you know, there are cameras, and it still has to be a dance, and you still have to create a story within it. Like, you don't want to, you know, a love scene shouldn't just be there for the hell of it being a love scene. There should be a reason for it. And so it's a scene, and for that reason, I guess I have to say it is the same thing, you know. And certainly doing a love scene with the guy, once you got the first scene out of the way, it was like, okay, so what? Fuck it, let's move on. Let's shoot it as a scene. Let's go home. Let's accomplish this. So you know, I think it's just the same thing, perhaps.
Thank you. On the left, next question.
Hi, my name is Cameron. I'm from German-Turkish City Magazine here in Berlin. It's nice to meet you, and thank you very much for the movie. I have 2 questions. My first question is to Mr. Armfield. How are you thinking about junkies and drugs? And my second question is to Mr. Leacher. Sorry. What was the biggest challenge for you to play in this movie?
I don't know what your question was.
Was your question, sorry, what do I think about junkies and drugs?
Oh,
why was it important? I beg your pardon. When I read Luke's book, Margaret sent me Luke's book back in 1998, and I read it and was knocked over by the energy and momentum of the story, and the fact that it seemed to me that reading it, that Luke had provided some kind of metaphor of life. There's a scene in the book where Dan and Candy are in the back of a car, fucking, crying, and trying to sort of create a human bubble of heat together, while outside them the wind is whipping the landscape, and there is this kind of bleakness surrounding them. And it seemed to me an incredibly poetic and rich study of what happens between human beings in love. When I say I felt that it was a metaphor of life, it seems to me that we are all pursuing, and the Western world is pursuing this obsession with the continuation, the perpetuation of pleasure at whatever cost. You know, the planet is being destroyed because people are wanting their Hermes handbags. You know, we're all guilty. We're all sort of living this life that we can't afford. And it seems to me that that heroin is like this encapsulation of this very human desire to take the good things and get rid of the bad, and whatever the cost, you live for that moment. And it's a very understandable and kind of ultimately tragic human quality, but it's also what makes us miraculous. You know, it's what makes people so fascinating. That's why I was so interested in that as a kind of a cinematic metaphor.
I think the hardest thing for me about making this movie is we shot it through summer, and I was staying in Sydney, like right on the beach, but I had to stay pale, and so I didn't go outside for all of summer, and I had to wear like long sleeve shirts, and I know that's lame, but that's probably the hardest thing about the shoot. It was a pleasure, the whole shoot, you know. Like the tougher the subject became, the kind of more we enjoyed it. I think Abbie and I both like to sink our teeth into kind of scenes, and the meatier they are, the kind of more we enjoy it. So I wouldn't say that was tough at all. Tough was not being able to swim in the ocean during summer. Mm.
There's a notion that a sort of an unhappy set kind of gets a good film, and we were trying to argue against that.
Thank you. Next question on the left, please.
Laimon G from Riga, Latvia. I want to thank all of you for a really interesting movie, because I don't recall ever having seen something that shows the hopelessness of being an addict of any kind of drug. I wonder for Mr. Davies, did you have like a personal experience with someone to write this, or?
Well, it's not like something that you could research on the internet. I mean, I was at a time in that world. I had some experience in that world. My novel is not specifically autobiographical, but I think and I hope that there is an emotional truth to the novel that comes from my time spent in that world.
You're going to be on Oprah next week.
I'm gonna be on. No, I spent when the novel came out. You know, I must admit I spent a lot of years and saying, you know, kind of saying, and this is the truth, saying my loyalty was to the structure of the story that I tried to tell, not to the events of my real life. Although some events of my real life really happened. But then finally, when they cast Heath, my friends started to say, "So Heath Ledger's like playing you," and I started to say, Yeah, I guess he is.
Well, actually, that led me into my next question for Mr. Ledger. How did you get all these fantastic parts you've been lately going through? Brokeback Mountain and Monsters Ball.